Hey guys, so I'm doing part 2 of proving that Led Zeppelin is the greatest band in history by all metrics, standards, criteria and statistics, all of them. So I did part 1, you won't understand this unless you look at part 1. And a lot of people agreed with me because I proved it in part 1 with just 2 criteria. With just 2 criteria. And today I'm going to do about 5. And then in part 3 another 5, and part 4 and part 6. Until we get to 146. And it'll just be common knowledge throughout the earth that Led Zeppelin are over and above everybody else. Let me give you an example. In the flamenco world, everyone knows who plays the flamenco guitar that there is only one above all the other guitarists. And his name is Paco de Lucia. Yeah, and if you go to Spain and you say, oh, Paco de Lucia is not so good and this guy's better, you'll be laughed at. Because there is no one greater, there never has been and probably never will be anyone that comes anywhere near Paco de Lucia. So it's not subjective. In Spain and in the flamenco world, it's not, oh yeah, my opinion is, no, it's Paco de Lucia. When it comes to martial arts, it's Bruce Lee, then there's everybody else. So, in all these tens and tens of series I'm going to do, because I did have a few critics, I'm going to prove that Led Zeppelin are here and all the rest are down, way, way, way down there. So, here we go with another critic. Let's just type in, who is the greatest rock and roll band in history? Number 1. These guys are number 2. Of course, these guys dethroned them in 1970. They were out, they were in. People forget that in history. People forget that Led Zeppelin took over from the Beatles, not the Rolling Stones. The Who, AC/DC, Pink Floyd, U2, they're all trying to get over here, but they can't, because Led Zeppelin is on top. Just do this. Which is the greatest rock band of all time? You can do it at home. I give you permission. You know, as I say, don't try this at home. I give you permission to do the research, and you will always find that Led Zeppelin are the best in everything. Just everything. I'm so enjoying irritating the detractors who, oh, what about the Who? Who? That's my answer. Who? What about the Doors? Oh, you mean the guy who sings, come on baby, light my fire, and he's only got one note? He doesn't know how to sing 2 notes, like Jim Morrison, that guy who sings like, oh, all the time? The Doors, the greatest band? You got to be kidding. How many albums did they sell? Like 13 and a half? Led Zeppelin sold over 300 million. Yeah. So, I'm making this up. I put that there. I did this because, as I said, I've been proving and enjoying proving and smashing everyone's arguments about who is the greatest band in history for 48 years and always succeeding. Always. Because I have the facts, and they do, and they correspond. So, what happens when we ask who had the best rock and roll manager in history? What the blazes, how did that get out of there? Oh, dang diddly. All right, let's do it again. Who is the You can put it in all time or history, but it will always be Peter Grant. Yes, it's definitely not Brian Epstein because he ripped off the Beatles, and you will see that it's Peter Grant. Peter Grant, let's do this again. Try that. Let's put that up in there. Okay. All right. Well, I had the one that had Peter Grant was right there, and now I don't know why this fart. He stole from the Beatles. Peter Grant, he made them multimillionaires, and you're going to see why. You're going to see why Peter Grant is the greatest manager of a rock and roll band in history. When you see what he did for his band and how he changed the whole music industry in 1968 with the signature of one contract. And all of you people who say, oh, Pink Floyd, Queen, the Eagles, that all of them put together have not contributed to music for your benefit more than Led Zeppelin. And you're going to see why today. So, yeah, I'm pissed off about that. I'm going to go back into my history and I'm going to get Peter Grant up there. You'll see, you'll see, you'll see. I'm going to get him up there. You'll see it. Okay, here we go. Different wording. Yeah. So in the other one I said rock and roll. In this one I said who is the best rock manager of all time? Peter Grant, who managed Led Zeppelin, is widely considered the best rock... Not considered. He is, just as John Bonham is the greatest drummer. And if you argue that, you look like a real peanut. Like a real peanut. Of all time. For revolutionizing the industry by prioritizing artists' interest. Because of Peter Grant, all the greedy labels, promoters, and music executive professionals, they are all making less money from their artists than they were before Led Zeppelin. Because of Led Zeppelin, who asked for nearly 8% in royalties, which the Beatles were only getting 2%, and everyone else was only getting 2%. Because of that, well, you're going to see that the Stones, Jim Morrison, all these bands, they all started renegotiating their contracts and getting more money because of Led Zeppelin. Yeah. Okay, so we have the best manager of all time. Right there, Peter Grant. Aries? Of course. Because Aries do everything the best. All right, let's have a look at the contract that Led Zeppelin signed, because apparently they signed their souls to the devil, Nick.
Really?
Yeah, oh, yes. Yeah, they sold their souls like everyone sold their souls, right? Well, let's have a look at the contract and see where they sold their souls, shall we?
Yeah,
and you can look at this. You can look at the contract yourself, guys. Right? They're selling their souls to the devil. Yeah. No. The music industry sold their souls to Led Zeppelin, and Led Zeppelin conquered the world for your sake. And all you musicians who are making a percentage, like me, from your music royalties, and you're getting a high percentage, you can thank Peter Grant and Led Zeppelin. Yeah, you can. Otherwise, you will be poor, really, really poor. And Black Sabbath would be really poor, and Pink Floyd, because they all renegotiated their contracts after they saw Led Zeppelin, the first band in history to get nearly 8% of royalties when they were only getting 2 or 3%. Led Zeppelin changed that for you. Not the Who. Who? Yeah, not all these other bands at all. Look, I wish this was Black Sabbath. I wish it was Black Sabbath that was #1 guitarist, #1 bass, because Geezer Butler, great bassist. John Ward, who said he himself, Black Sabbath's drummer, John Ward, said the best drummer is John Bonham, bar none. And so did Carmen Apiece from Vanilla Fudge, America's greatest drummer of all time. He said that John Bonham was. So, but I wish it was John Ward. I'd love to see Pink Floyd get on the top, but they don't. I'd like to see Pink Floyd have one cover band, or any of the others, but they don't. Only Led Zeppelin have 100 cover bands, generating millions in royalties for Led Zeppelin every time they play their songs, and filling arenas and stadiums and halls. And there's a whole Led Zeppelin industry right now going on, and all the other bands are dead, kaput. And I'm only just starting, sweethearts. So, you know, if you think it's the Who, and the Doors, I'll be pissing myself laughing, because if I see those arguments in this one now, I saw some arguments in the first one, which I kindly deleted because obviously you're retarded if you think anyone's greater than Led Zeppelin. Yeah. Some things are not subjective, guys. There's Led Zeppelin, and then there's the rest. There's no argument. It's not objective. It's not my opinion. I'm showing it to you. It's a fact. Led Zeppelin's original 1968 contract with Atlantic Records, brokered by Peter Grant, was a landmark deal giving the band high royalties, 7.33% in the US and the UK, and 5.5% elsewhere. An unprecedented creative control So, did they give over their creativity to the devil, or did they say, no, we want all of the control? Well, let's have a look, shall we? Where can we see that they're giving their artistic virtues to the devil? Key aspects of Led Zeppelin's royalties and contracts. Original 1968 contract signed for 3 years, not 5, as often reported, with a 1969 extension to 73. The band received 7.33% royalty rate on record sales in the US. Control and ownership. The contract between Atlantic and Page's company, because Page created the band. He owned the band. Superhype Tapes Limited gave Jimmy Page authority to replace members Plant, Jones and Bonham. Very smart move, because he knew he had the best, but these guys are unknowns. This guy was already famous. He played on Goldfinger, he played on the Kinks, he played for the Rolling Stones, he played for the Who. Jimmy Page played on the Who's album. I mean, what was Pete Townsend doing? We'll just have Jimmy Page play and pretend it's me, and I'll just pick my nose and fart over here in the corner. Jimmy Page played on everybody's records in the 60s as a session musician, making #1s, probably about 100 to 1,000 #1s for everybody else before he started Led Zeppelin. That's why he had this much power. Okay, Value of catalogue, a 10% stake of band's royalties. Okay, we don't want that. We want, well, look, this is not so, let's just try Led Zeppelin royal contract. Not royalties, contract, what's the word? Led Zeppelin contract agreement. Stipulation? Contract, dang, man.
Terms?
Terms. But before we do that, I just noticed something. There it is. Led Zeppelin's 1968 contract with Atlantic Records, negotiated by Peter Grant, it gave them full, get this guys, not to Satan the devil, granting the band full creative control. You'll see why this is so important, because that was the first time in history that it happened, and now everyone is benefiting from that. And receiving high royalties, and Peter Grant was at the office with Ahmet Ertegun about to sign, and when Ahmet Ertegun saw that Led Zeppelin were asking 7.33%, Ahmet Ertegun hesitated, and when Peter Grant saw him hesitate, he got up and he said, I'm going to sign with another label. And he starts walking out the door. Ahmet Ertegun begged him to come back. You'll get your 7.33%. And you'll see why it was the biggest blessing for the music industry in history. Not AC/DC, not Queen, not Bob Dylan, not Elvis Presley, not Prince, not Aerosmith, Led Zeppelin. And Ahmet Ertegun gave them an advance of $200,000 before even hearing them. That's how much Jimmy Page's reputation was already so vastly established across the earth. That is still the biggest advance of any contract in history. It still stands. It's still the record. So, for all those people saying, by what criteria and metrics, Santos, do you say Led Zeppelin? By all of them. By every fucking one of them. Including that. Black Sabbath didn't get one red penny. The Eagles would have got about 40 cents. Fleetwood Mac, $1.40. $200,000 in 1968. Changed everything. Here's what Peter Grant did. He went to the promoters and he said, well, you know how you promoter types get 90% and the artists get 10%? Well, I got a band called Led Zeppelin, and if you want us to play in your arenas, we get the 90%, and you fuckwits, who are not artists at all, get 10%. And all the promoters were like, yes, please, can we book you? Again, all the other bands took notice, and all the other promoters had to flip the tables over and give 90% to the artists and 10% to the shitty promoters. Thanks to Led Zeppelin. Not the Beatles, Tavistock, not the Rolling Stones, Tavistock, Led Zeppelin, who are not with Tavistock, because they have full creative control. Well, guess what? That full creative control has passed on to every single artist who haven't sold their souls. There you go. Led Zeppelin. Now we're going to watch a little video about the contract of Led Zeppelin selling their souls to the devil and how much good came from Peter Grant and Led Zeppelin that changed the whole music industry right over its head. Okay? 90% to the artist. Oh, by the way, that percentage, 7.33, was exactly 5 times more than what the Beatles were getting. So when it says that Epstein was the best manager in the other dud one that I pulled up, this dud one here, this dick, yeah, who ripped them off, well, they're wrong. Now, Don Arden, Black Sabbath's manager, stole their first 4 best albums. That's why they recorded Sabotage, because they were sabotaged by their manager. And you know, their 4 best-selling albums and their 4 most creative albums are owned by the Arden family, Don Arden. He put a clause in the contract to steal those albums off Black Sabbath. They were naive. Peter Grant is famous for protecting his band, and he always said, it's not about just turning up when the money's there and just turning up for this and that. You've got to be there for your boys. You have to be there for them. Yeah. And everyone's like, oh, the Monkees are the best band. The Monkey, hey, we're the Monkees. Oh, God, got no fucking idea, really. Retardedness is everywhere. Biggest selling band of all time. The Beatles, with over 295 million certified units, Led Zeppelin have sold over 300 million, by the way. They are the undisputed leaders, active from Internet. Top contenders, other top-selling bands, often listed in the top tier, include, just saying, Led Zeppelin. Before Pink Floyd, before Queen, and before the Rolling Stones, who only sold like about 246 and a half albums. There you go. I mean, second place is good enough to the Tavistock Beatles when Led Zeppelin were not Tavistock and did not sell their souls to the devil, whereas the Beatles did everything that Epstein told them to do, and Tavistock, and all the brainwashing in their songs, and all the demonic lyrics, whereas there are no demonic lyrics in Led Zeppelin at all. It amazes me when people say, oh, Led Zeppelin's satanic. Do you know what a satanic band is? Those are the bands that are... kill your father, rape your mother. Those are satanic bands. Led Zeppelin sings, someone told me there's a girl out there with love in her eyes and flowers in her hair. Yeah, Satanists. I don't hear any lyrics. Check out all the lyrics of Led Zeppelin and please tell me where you see worship of Satan, please. Please. Because you fucking won't. At all, at all. You will only see songs about love, truth. You'll see 9 songs ripped straight out of Lord of the Rings. Robert Plant was a big Tolkien fan. I mean, can you imagine Black Sabbath or Pink Floyd or the Rolling Stones or the Beatles doing Tolkien? Led Zeppelin did it in Misty Mountain Hop, Battle of Evermore, Ramble On, 4 Sticks, Kashmir, Stairway to Heaven. There's 9 songs that are straight out of Tolkien. Has any other band ever done that? No, because they can't. because their lyrics aren't as beautiful and perfect as Led Zeppelin's, because Led Zeppelin are here and all the other bands are down there. They're down there. They're all down there. There's Paco de Lucia, and then there's all the other guitarists, and all the other guitarists know it, and it's a fact. It's not an opinion. It's not objective. It's subjective. It's objective, and this is not subjective. There it is. There they are. Top contenders, Led Zeppelin. Okay. Most influential bands in history. Well, we know that Led Zeppelin have got 100 cover bands and all the others don't have a quarter of a cover band. Here, they're saying the Beatles are widely considered the most influential rock band in history, having fundamentally reshaped songwriting, studio production, band bass structure. Fair enough. Good. I'm glad for them. Okay, let's move on. Across other highly influential bands include the Velvet Underground, and of course Led Zeppelin's there. I mean, of course. And rest assured, no one knows who these are, and everyone's got their albums, because they would have sold about 4 albums, and these guys sold 350 million albums. So there it is. You can do it. Led Zeppelin are always there. So, don't worry guys, because if you're still not silenced and you never ever, don't even dare tell me it's the Doors you'll get deleted and removed from my channel, right? Because this is only part 2. I'm gonna have a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Because I ain't stupid, and for 48 years I've been telling everyone there's Led Zeppelin and then there's the rest. And I've won the arguments and shut everybody the fuck up. Oh, it's so good to be right. It's always good to be correct. Correctness is very important, guys. Very important. So the Beatles. Okay, I wonder who would be second then. Because Tavistock, of course, have got their Satanists at the top. But the non-Satanists who talk about girls with flowers in their hair, they're right there at number 2. Yeah. Of course, I'm making everything up. I'm making all this up like I did with my syncretism, and none of it fits, right? None of it works. And every time I do a metric or a criteria establishing that Led Zeppelin are the greatest, the answer comes back as they are the greatest. It's funny about that, yeah. So there you go. And now let's have a look at this little video here. No, not this one. All right. Let's see what happened. Here, they're going to talk about the contract that changed rock history forever. Yeah? Not the Beatles, not the Stones, not the Who. Who are they?
I have no clue. Never heard of them.
The band that sold 6.5 records.
Really?
And the dickhead who smashed his guitar sacrilegiously after every Pete Townsend. You reckon Jimmy Page you reckon he'd get his Gibson and just go bang, 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 go, because he's a Satanist? Yeah, Jimmy Page is a Satanist. Wouldn't he be breaking his guitar and eating chickens' heads? I mean, Pete Townsend, at the end of every freaking show, would smash the amps and his head. What kind of a dickhead's that?
One that likes to waste money, apparently.
Yeah. All right, so let's look about this, see how you are benefiting from the greatest movement band in the history of history. You. You're the one benefiting.
It's 1968. Record labels controlled everything: the music, the money, the careers of every artist. Then, a former wrestler walks into Atlantic Records with an unknown band and makes demands that shocked everyone. The contract they walked out with changed their lives and shattered the entire music industry. This is the story of how one piece of paper shifted the balance of power forever. The unlikely negotiator. In 1968, Peter Grant walked into Atlantic Records' office ready to change the music industry. At 6 feet 5 inches and 300 pounds, the former wrestler turned manager cut an intimidating figure among the polished executives. His background wasn't in music or business. It was in the rough and tumble world of professional wrestling and concert security. Grant's philosophy was simple but revolutionary. Artists should control their destiny. While other managers played by the rules, Grant saw himself as a protector of artists' interests. When he began representing an unknown band called Led Zeppelin, he was convinced of their future value. As Grant prepared to present his demands, tension filled the room. Then he dropped the bomb: a $143,000 advance and a 7.33% royalty rate, far above the industry standard of 2 to 3%. The executives were stunned. These weren't just demands. They were a declaration of war on the entire system. Word of Grant's audacious move spread through the industry like wildfire. The question on everyone's mind: would Atlantic Records cave to these unprecedented demands, or would this former wrestler's gamble end in defeat? But what happened next would stun everyone. Atlantic's gamble. In 1968, Atlantic Records faced a pivotal decision that would reshape the music industry. Peter Grant's demands for Led Zeppelin's contract were unprecedented. An advance of $143,000 and a 7.33% royalty rate, far exceeding industry norms at the time. Atlantic's executives were divided. Some feared accepting such terms would undermine their negotiating power with other artists and pose a significant financial risk. Others, including founder Ahmet Ertegun, saw potential in Jimmy Page's reputation and the band's raw talent showcased in their demo tapes. The decision weighed heavily on Atlantic. The advance alone represented a substantial investment, and if Led Zeppelin failed to gain traction, the label stood to lose considerably. However, Ertegun's instinct for emerging trends and his commitment to artist-driven music ultimately prevailed. In a bold move, Atlantic Records accepted Grant's terms. The contract was signed, marking the beginning of a partnership that would have far-reaching consequences for the entire music industry.
Sorry guys, I'm going to read that because I was talking. I'm going to go back a bit because I was talking in my mic. I didn't realize I had my mic on, and I've already blundered a few things here. So I don't want to be. I want to go back just so we don't miss anything. This is very, very important. Pay attention to this in every detail.
And if Led Zeppelin failed to gain traction, the label stood to lose considerably. However, Ertegun's instinct for emerging trends and his commitment to artist-driven music ultimately prevailed. In a bold move, Atlantic Records accepted Grant's terms. The contract was signed, marking the beginning of a partnership that would have far-reaching consequences for the entire music industry. The gamble paid off spectacularly. Led Zeppelin's debut album, released in early 1969, was a massive success, quickly recouping Atlantic's investment. The band went on to become one of the best-selling acts in music history, validating Atlantic's decision. More importantly, this deal set a new standard for artist empowerment in the music industry. It fundamentally altered how artists approached contract negotiations, creating a legacy that continues to influence deals to this day. The financial risk Atlantic took in 1968 yielded returns that extended far beyond monetary value, reshaping the balance of power between artists and labels for generations to come. The contract was signed, but the real bombshells were hidden in the fine print. The revolutionary terms, $1.1 million, was just the beginning for Led Zeppelin. Their 1968 contract with Atlantic Records reshaped the music industry landscape. At its core was an unprecedented 7.33% royalty rate in major markets, far exceeding industry norms for new acts. This financial windfall came with extraordinary creative control, allowing the band final say on album artwork, track listings, and single releases. Led Zeppelin also retained control of their publishing rights through Superhype Tapes, a company set up by Jimmy Page and manager Peter Grant. This arrangement gave the band long-term ownership over their music and its use, a rarity in an era when labels often claimed these valuable rights. The contract included unusual provisions that highlighted Atlantic's confidence in the band's potential. One allowed the label to release up to 2 compilation albums per year. However, the most controversial aspect was the Jimmy Page clause, which gave Page the power to replace any band member while retaining the Led Zeppelin name. Industry insiders debated the implications of this clause. Some viewed it as a bold move, cementing Page's leadership, while others questioned its impact on band dynamics. The contract also included a morality clause, reflecting the tension between artistic freedom and commercial considerations in the late 1960s. Led Zeppelin's groundbreaking deal set new standards for artist empowerment. Its impact on royalty rates, creative control, and publishing rights challenged long-standing practices, paving the way for future artists to demand better terms. The ripple effects of this single document would be felt for decades, forever altering the relationship between bands and labels in the music industry. Grant's success wasn't just luck. He had a secret weapon from his past that would change everything: the wrestling connection. In 1968, record executives discovered that wrestling tactics could revolutionize music industry negotiations. Peter Grant brought psychological warfare into the boardroom, treating each meeting like a high-stakes match. Grant's negotiation style was pure wrestling psychology. He'd start with an impossible demand, watch his opponents react, then slowly wear them down. Like a wrestler working the crowd, he knew exactly when to push and when to ease back. His signature move was the walk-away bluff, standing up mid-negotiation and heading for the door. Executives, used to artists begging for deals, didn't know how to handle someone willing to leave millions on the table. This power move repeatedly forced them to chase after him with better offers. During one legendary Atlantic Records meeting, Grant sensed weakness in the executive's resolve over royalty rates. Instead of compromising, he calmly announced Led Zeppelin would sign with another label. The room fell silent. Within minutes, Atlantic caved to his demands, a psychological submission hold that would have made any wrestling promoter proud. Music historian Dave Lewis noted, Grant turned contract negotiations into performance art. His theatrical approach to business deals changed the power dynamics forever, proving that sometimes the best business strategy was making your opponent tap out. The live performance revolution. Led Zeppelin's groundbreaking record deal was just the beginning of their industry-shaking moves. Peter Grant, their manager, set his sights on revolutionizing the live music industry next. In the 1960s, artists typically received only 40% to 50% of gross ticket sales, with promoters and venues taking the lion's share. Grant saw an opportunity to flip this model on its head. Leveraging Led Zeppelin's massive popularity, Grant negotiated an unprecedented 90-10 split for concert revenues. The band would take home 90% of ticket sales, leaving promoters with just 10%. Grant argued that Led Zeppelin's drawing power would ensure packed venues, making even a 10% share profitable for promoters through concessions and other revenue streams. This new arrangement transformed the economics of touring for Led Zeppelin. Live performances became a primary income source, allowing the band to invest heavily in their stage production. The result was the creation of legendary live experiences that would define their career. The impact of this deal rippled through the music industry. Other established artists, like the Rolling Stones, began demanding higher percentages of ticket sales. The 90-10 split encouraged bands to view touring as a significant income stream, rather than just a promotional tool for album sales. Led Zeppelin's approach to concert revenue set a new standard for artist compensation in live performances. It empowered musicians to take greater control of their shows, both creatively and financially. This shift in perspective reshaped the entire music industry, as live performances became increasingly crucial to artists' careers and financial success. The revolution in concert revenue sharing pioneered by Led Zeppelin continues to influence how tours are structured and negotiated today. Their innovative approach to both recording contracts and live performance deals cemented their legacy as trailblazers in the business of rock and roll. But the tremors from Led Zeppelin's contract were only beginning to spread. Industry shockwaves. In 1968, the standard artist royalty rate was a mere 2 to 3%. Led Zeppelin's deal didn't just raise the bar, it obliterated it. As word spread through the music world, the industry's power structure began to crack. The immediate impact was seismic. The Rolling Stones, already rock royalty, renegotiated their Atlantic Records contract for more control and their own label. David Bowie followed suit in 1971, demanding similar terms and creative freedom. By mid-1970s, the industry standard had skyrocketed to 5 to 7% royalty rates. But the real revolution wasn't just about money. Led Zeppelin's contract sparked a wave of artist empowerment. Pink Floyd gained the freedom to create ambitious concept albums without label interference. Elton John secured unprecedented creative control. New artists entering the industry suddenly had leverage to demand better terms from day one. Record companies faced a choice: adapt or lose their biggest stars. The old model of tight control was crumbling. Labels began offering better terms across the board, recognizing that the balance of power had shifted permanently. Fast forward to today, and the aftershocks of that 1968 contract are still being felt. Modern legacy. Today's artists continue to follow Dire Straits' blueprint for outsmarting the system. When Taylor Swift announced she would re-record her entire catalog to regain control of her masters in 2019, she was using the same strategy, turning industry rules against themselves. Like Dire Straits using MTV's hunger for innovation to air their critique, Swift used her fans' loyalty and streaming platforms' algorithms to make her re-recordings more valuable than the originals. Her Taylor's Version albums consistently outperformed the originals, with Red Taylor's Version debuting at #1 and breaking Spotify's single-day streaming record. The tools have evolved, but the strategy remains the same. Lil Nas X turned industry controversy into streaming gold with Old Town Road, deliberately playing into Billboard's genre classifications to generate debate. When Billboard removed the song from the country charts, he leveraged the controversy to create a Billy Ray Cyrus remix, effectively forcing the industry to acknowledge him. The song went on to become the longest-running #1 hit in Billboard history, proving that, like Dire Straits, he could use the system's rules against itself. The digital revolution has created new battlegrounds for artist innovation. Travis Scott's groundbreaking Fortnite concert drew 12.3 million concurrent players, generating $20 million in merchandise sales and revolutionizing virtual performance. The Weeknd's TikTok virtual performance attracted 2 million unique viewers and raised $350,000 for charitable causes. Both artists, like Dire Straits with CGI, used cutting-edge technology to rewrite industry rules. Social media has become the new MTV, and artists have learned to manipulate its algorithms, just as Dire Straits manipulated MTV's appetite for innovation. Bad Bunny's rise to global superstardom, despite singing primarily in Spanish, came from mastering Spotify's playlist system and social media promotion. His album Un Verano Sin Ti became the first Spanish-language album to top Billboard's year-end chart, proving that understanding and exploiting the system's mechanics still leads to success. Even emerging artists have adopted this strategy. Oliver Tree built his career by deliberately creating viral moments that seemed to mock social media culture while mastering it. Glass Animals' Heat Waves became a sleeper hit through TikTok virality. showing how artists can now use platform algorithms the way Dire Straits used MTV's programming needs. The streaming era has also created new forms of gatekeeping to overcome. Playlist curators have replaced MTV VJs, while recommendation algorithms determine what music reaches listeners. Artists like Drake and The Weeknd have mastered this new landscape, creating albums specifically designed to dominate streaming platforms through track length, song order, and strategic feature placements. Independent artists have found their own ways to challenge the system. Chance the Rapper became the first streaming-only artist to win a Grammy, deliberately bypassing traditional distribution channels. More recently, artists like Steve Lacy have used TikTok's short-form video format to turn song snippets into viral hits, proving that understanding platform mechanics is as crucial now as understanding MTV was in 1985. The lesson from Money for Nothing endures. Sometimes the best way to change the system is to master it first. Whether it's MTV in 1985 or TikTok in 2024, success often comes to those who can turn the industry's own machinery to their advantage. As streaming platforms, social media, and artificial intelligence continue to reshape the music industry, artists who understand how to work within the system while pushing its boundaries continue to find success, just as Dire Straits did nearly 4 decades ago. A single contract in 1968 rewrote the rules of the music industry. Led Zeppelin and Peter Grant's bold gamble didn't just change one band's fortune, it shifted the balance of power forever. Today, every time an artist demands control of their work or negotiates a groundbreaking deal, they're standing on the shoulders of 4 young musicians and their wrestler-turned-manager who dared to challenge the system. The music industry continues to evolve, but one truth remains constant. Artists deserve a say in their art, their careers, and their future. Led Zeppelin's contract wasn't just a piece of paper. It was a declaration of independence that still echoes through recording studios and boardrooms today.
Yeah, and I knew all of this at the age of 14 and a half, after listening to just one song of Led Zeppelin, Custard Pie, the album Physical Graffiti, and by the time it got to the lead break, which was so amazing, I was already having a spiritual orgasm, and I knew right there. And I'd heard Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, Kiss, Pink Floyd, all the bands, and Led Zeppelin managed to elude me up until 1977 when I was 14 and a half. Before that, I was listening to everything. And I knew right there, in the back seat of a car, listening to Led Zeppelin, listening to Custard Pie, and then The Rover, that was it. Next day I went to the music store, bought the album, then bought all their albums, and they changed my life forever because I knew what I know now and what everybody else knows. Led Zeppelin are the greatest band in history. And so that's another 3 or 4 more criteria right there. And see you in part 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, and you'll finally get it. Oh, and by the way, the guy who said that Jimi Hendrix hated Led Zeppelin and said they were shit on this on part 1, Led Zeppelin is provably the best rock band ever. Pure fact, no subjectivity. In the comments, someone said, and I've seen this before, where Janis Joplin and a couple of others, including Jimi Hendrix, hated Led Zeppelin. Anu, are you able to just pop your head in here? Well, here's a friend of mine who also loves Led Zeppelin. Anu, What did Jimi Hendrix say about Led Zeppelin's first album?
He had a lot of critiques, but at the end of the day, he did say that Led Zeppelin was fantastic. They were a good band, and Robert Plant even said that he tried to steal John Bonham to join the Jimi Hendrix experience.
Of course, right?
So,
But he said that on before he died.
yeah, I mean, Zeppelin 1 came out in 69. He died in 69, so
Yeah.
not much time before he realized what's great.
Yeah, well, what I answered to that guy was I said, Jimi Hendrix only heard their first album. If he had gotten to Kashmir, the greatest song ever written if he had lived to 1975...
He would have been converted.
Yeah, and he would be like, I'm a real fucking dick because they are the best and everyone else is not. Thank you very much. And we'll see you tomorrow on part 3.